Today, Governor Janet Mills made good on a promise she made last month during her State of the State address.
She introduced a bill that she hopes will prevent a repeat of the deadly mass shootings in Lewiston from October. 18 people were killed, 13 others wounded by men reportedly experiencing mental health issues. Her bill is divided into three parts. The first would call on Maine's Centers for Disease Control to not only track injuries and deaths due to violence, but also so the state can come up with programs to prevent suicides and homicides. The bill would also create crisis receiving centers across the state so people suffering a mental health crisis can get help more quickly and closer to home. The final part of the governor's bill is one that members of Maine's law enforcement community say will have the most immediate impact.
It's called the Protective Custody Warrant, and it would help address the roadblocks that prevented sheriff's deputies from separating the Lewiston shooter from his guns. Chris Costa is here now to explain how it would work. Hi, Chris.
Amanda and Brian, last month we shared the story of how Cumberland County Sheriff's deputies knew that a man in Raymond was suffering from mental health issues, exhibiting violence, paranoia, and had access to assault weapons and had military training, very similar to Robert Card. But those deputies could not take him into protective custody because he had not committed a crime and would not answer the door. One of Mills' proposals would strengthen Maine's yellow flag law, allowing law enforcement to ask a judge for what's called a protective custody warrant. The proposal has a bit of a sequence that officers would have to follow. Here's what they'd have to show. Did they make reasonable efforts to take the person into protective custody but could not? Can the officer establish probable cause that the person has a mental illness and presents a likelihood of serious harm due to access to weapons? If so, the court will issue this protective custody warrant. The governor's office believes this change will give law enforcement another tool to ensure that someone is taken into protective custody and their weapons are removed. It's a measure that Spurwink, the agency that performs the most of the state's weapons restrictions orders, believes in too.
And it's a problem that we've discussed. And so seeing the governor propose a solution is very encouraging. This change will significantly improve community safety. This would make a significant improvement in the functioning of Maine's yellow flag law.
Now, this proposal would also ensure that when a judge issues that weapons restriction order, it's communicated as quickly as possible from the courts to what's called the State Bureau of Identification. The governor's office says that communication will go into a state database that's connected to the National Instant Criminal Background Check System. That would prevent gun sales to prohibited people, and it could be updated as soon as possible to eliminate any time gaps that might allow a prohibited person to actually buy a weapon. Spurwink also gave us the latest numbers on how many of these orders they've done. In the 3 weeks since our story aired, they've done 19 more, a total of 112 statewide since the Lewiston shootings 4 months ago. Brian and Amanda.
Wow. Chris, thank you for that.